This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we will not be having Aaron Rodgers as a guest today.
No, we will not. Not on this one.
Aaron Rodgers was a guest today on the Pat McAfee show because he said his sister urged him to go on because there was a lot of BS out there regarding his situation.
I didn't hear the interview, but it sounds like it was pretty inconclusive overall.
Well, I mean, he did say some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He said, look, I haven't signed with anybody to this point because I have some stuff going on in my life right now I have to take my attention. Okay.
That's fair.
That's fair. I mean, there are a lot of people that these things, if those things have to take precedent over whether you play football or not next year, and the Steelers are comfortable waiting, which obviously they are.
I'm sure there's been back and forth and dialogue between
He said
the
he's
two. He's
been in contact with Mike Tomlin constantly.
Really? Okay.
So
no change, obviously, which
no change.
I understand gets frustrating.
He said retirement is still a possibility, but I think retirement is a possibility for him if the Steelers would move on.
Okay. I mean, there isn't another landing spot for him.
I don't see it. I don't see him going to New Orleans, for example.
I don't either. I think they're going to draft one, and Carr's still in the mix. I mean, that doesn't seem like a fit to me at all. Scheme, finances,
where the team's at.
It. Right.
Yeah.
So it'd been nice to get an answer. There's no doubt. It'd be nice to know before the draft. Maybe they do know. I mean, or have a strong inkling. I don't know.
I have a feeling, again, Mike Tomlin has been in constant contact with Aaron Rodgers.
I guess that's all we need to know.
Rodgers said that he has a great deal of respect for Mike Tomlin, even more so after meeting with him.
Mm-hmm.
Said he's been, he's had a relationship with Arthur Smith for a long time. They've known each other. Tom Arth was with the Packers, the Steelers quarterback coach.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers' rookie year.
I didn't realize there was a correlation.
So Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler.
You feel pretty confident about it? Yeah.
I do.
I have every step of the way. It's starting to linger, which gives you doubts, but the Steelers would have done something.
This makes a lot more sense. Like him coming out and, he's waiting on the Vikings. He's waiting on everybody was guessing what was happening.
Yeah, that part didn't add up to me either. I mean, it's Steelers are retirement for him, I think.
For him to come out and say, look, no, I've had some things that I've had to take care of in my life. I have some people who are dealing with some illnesses in my he didn't say family, but he inferred his family that he or his inner circle or whatever you want to say.
Right. People who are close to him.
People that are close to him. Great. Take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no rush here. The Steelers haven't done anything on the football field, nor will they really until after the draft.
He's not under contract with the Steelers or anyone, so he has no obligations financially or legally to anybody. I mean, he can take as long as he wants, and he has the money, obviously. I don't know what else to add to it, I mean, so we're still don't know any different in terms of a yes or no, but at least it was something said from him, and I think that clears things up a little.
A little bit,
right? Yeah.
Again, that just adds some clarity, gives you some clarity to the situation. He's not holding out, waiting for somebody else. He did say he's told the teams that he talked to, look, I'll play for $10 million.
I did hear that
so
part.
So there goes,
right.
They're going to give Aaron Rodgers $40 million.
$50 million. He's not worth that, right.
I guess that wasn't true, huh?
I doubt he signs a $10 million contract, but it's not going to be 45.
It's not going to be 45. It's not going to be 40. It's not going to be. It's going to be something.
I like that dance you just did.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
But this is just what we've been dealing with.
Right.
For the
Everybody
last
thinks
month.
they know, and
people, the conjecture, the guesswork that if you pay Aaron Rodgers, you can't pay T.J. Watt. No.
Right. That's not the case at all. Right.
Yeah.
So it's funny is all these people that think they know really had no clue.
Pretending that they know.
Right.
I talked to Aaron Rodgers once 5 years ago, and here's what I think he's
doing. This is what he's up to. Right.
It's all BS.
I don't think he knows 100%. Right.
That's the main thing. He doesn't know. What if the situations that he is dealing with off the field linger or turn worse?
Right.
You know what? I don't, and I'm not going to even guess what these things are.
No clue. Right.
But they, again, having dealt with stuff in my own personal life,
Sure.
I can understand. If you want to take your time, if somebody's dealing with something really bad in their life and they mean a lot to you, take your time.
Yeah.
But once you're in, this is what I've said all along about Aaron Rodgers. Once you're in, you're in.
That's the thing, is when you jump on the ride, the roller coaster's not stopping. You know what I mean? Let's go.
We're not going to Egypt. We're not going to
right.
No, you're in. You're
Get
involved.
all that stuff out of your system, or deal with what you need to deal with. That's more important than football. We all understand that there is things more important than football, believe it or not. And hey, I mean, he's not a young guy either. I mean, he's probably looking at his life at a retrospective kind of way in some ways too. You know,
and here's the one thing I thought that he talked about the way things ended with the Jets, and he wasn't happy about that. He told them he still wanted to keep playing.
Okay, important note.
Important note.
Context clue.
And they said that no, they were going to move on, and I guess it got a little contentious or whatever, however you want to look at it. I can't believe that a player of Aaron Rodgers' ability and resume and status
right.
would want that to be
the last thing
that you saw.
Right. I mean, now his body might disagree with him. Right. I mean, that's the thing.
True.
He did have a major injury and surgery not long ago on his timeline. He's not young. But if you want to play the Jets, I mean, if there's truth to that, hey, I wanted to do this another year with you guys in New York, probably wants to do it another year.
He probably wants to play another year. He wants to get that bad taste out of his mouth.
Right. Knows what he's capable of, and maybe he's not the player he was 5 years ago, and probably recognizes that, but probably doesn't want Franco with the Seahawks to be the last thing you hear of him. Willie Mays with the Mets, that kind
Joe
of thing.
Joe Namath with the Chargers.
A million of those
Rams,
things. Yeah, right. Rams,
Yeah.
Like that. Let me change that tune,
Yeah.
Hopefully. I mean, who knows?
And quite frankly, I mean, if you look at it, Peyton Manning in 2015 with the Broncos, Peyton Manning was not the driving factor for the Broncos winning the Super Bowl.
Bad neck injury. He was coming off of why he was not a Colt anymore.
But what you got from Peyton Manning that season, and it happened against the Steelers in the playoffs that year, Steelers are winning that game in Denver.
Right.
With Ben Roethlisberger with a arm he couldn't raise above his shoulder, no Antonio Brown, and I think that was the year. They all run together now. But the Steelers were winning that game, and Peyton Manning put together a drive.
Yeah. He summoned up enough
with his mind and won that game for him because they had a really good defense.
They did.
And he made basically, I can remember there was one throw that he kind of saw something at the line of scrimmage, changed the play, hit the seam route, and basically won them that game. But his overall numbers weren't great.
No, he had a rough go of it. I mean, he couldn't drive the ball on out routes and things like that. But there was still a bullet or two left in the gun. You know what I mean? Yeah. And knowing where to go with football, being smart, all that stuff.
Tom Brady does the same
best
thing.
Example.
Now, Brady had more in the tank.
I would say he was a better player at that stage.
But he also had a heck of a lot more offensively around him. I mean, we talked about that offseason.
Oh, I remember.
If you just gave that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team average quarterback play.
I mean, that was Winston coming off the 30-30 year.
With basically 40-30. He had 40 turnovers.
Okay.
He lost over 10 fumbles that year, too, in addition to the 30 interceptions. Like, if your quarterback just goes out there and doesn't turn the ball over 2 times a game.
Make that 12 or 15 or 20.
Which is what Brady was able to do.
Yeah. And Brady agreed with us. I mean, he looked at the situation like, this is perfect for me to land in.
Yeah. Now, you've also brought up some other instances where it didn't work out.
Sure. I mean, we kind of went through this with Wilson here last year.
But those players weren't the caliber of player that Aaron Rodgers was, or Tom Brady, or Peyton Manning.
Right. I mean, some of the best have ever done it.
Yeah.
Without question.
So, again,
who knows?
I'm willing to give it a shot because, A, what else you got at this point? But B, if he is in 100% on being a Steeler, being present at everything, and, But
like you said, not before he signs a contract, but the second after. Yeah.
I don't care about all this stuff because they're not doing anything on the field right now.
No, he's not hurting the team. He's not making, it's not maybe it's a distraction, but who knows? There's not anyone at the facility working out. I mean, everyone's on their own.
I know some people, their OTAs start next week. There are OTAs and there are OTAs.
Yeah.
The OTAs that start next week are just, we're going to have the building opened up. If players want to come in and work out, you can come in and work out. Coaches aren't involved.
Coaches aren't involved.
It's just guys going and lifting weights, training together, that kind of stuff. Then you have the draft. You have your rookie mini camp.
Just the fact you said the sentence, coaches aren't involved.
Coaches aren't involved. You have your rookie mini camp.
Then it starts to be footballish.
And that's where the coaches get their hands on the young guys for the first time.
That's like freshman orientation.
But you're not bringing Aaron Rodgers to that.
No.
And then after that, you involve the veteran players and the coaches. So really you've got 2 or 3 more weeks before the actual
football stuff.
Off-season training program really starts.
Where you would want him to be.
Yeah.
I mean, if he starts missing those things, I think that's a different conversation. That's the Egypt conversation from a year ago in New York, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And by then the draft's in the books. You've already made your decisions of should we draft a quarterback or what do we do at this position, et cetera, et cetera.
And the difference is, like, if he were still a Packer, he wouldn't need to be at the OTAs.
No.
You know the offense. You're not learning anything new.
Nobody cared if Ben was there in the 12th year either, right.
Ben was there. Sometimes he was, sometimes he wasn't. A lot of players are in and out of those things.
Yeah.
I never really
Cam
kept
Hayward's
track.
not there. No one cares.
Yeah.
Right.
But for a new player on a new team, you kind of need to be there to a degree.
It would certainly be fruitful.
Yeah.
I mean, just even the verbiage at the line of scrimmage, the terminology, the communications. I assume Wilson was there last year. I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I'm the starting quarterback on a new team. I want you there for those things.
Yeah, and I got to learn these new receivers, who can do what. So that's when it gets important.
At
so
least
if it hasn't happened by then
well, then we can complain about it or bring it back up. But I would hope that answer has happened, hopefully by the draft, but certainly by then.
Yeah, I mean that's when it gets really. Now you're starting to get closer to, 3 weeks from now you're just a couple of weeks away from minicamp. And then once minicamp's over, you're done. Your off-season program is finished.
And it's quiet time. Right?
Yeah.
But you'd like to have some exposure at that point.
Right.
Even if it's Cousins or Carr or whoever. I mean, you'd want your starting quarterback to be around.
That's what you would hope. I mean, that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. But, I mean, we've seen instances in the past where quarterbacks have gotten injured in training camp and you bring somebody else in and it's quarterback.
I don't know. The encouraging thing, assuming everybody wants him to be a Steeler, to me is constant communication with the head coach. And I wanted to come back to the Jets and play.
Yeah.
That implies to me that he's leaning that way. If he was drifting off in the sunset, would those two things come out of his mouth? Probably not. But again, I'm speculating.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it always is. This just ends some of the speculation. Not all of it, but some of it.
I do think people were hoping to get an answer. He's going on the air. He's going to say yes or no. We didn't, but oh well.
Yeah. Quite frankly, I'm kind of happy he didn't do it that way. Just to go on. I'm going to go on the McAfee show and make a big pronouncement.
Yeah.
That just
doesn't
shows
have to happen, right?
No, the circus is still in town.
Everyone thought he'd walk out on stage, when McAfee was here and all that too. And maybe it's not just a big look at me circus situation. It's just I just need a little time.
I need time.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean,
totally upfront with the Steelers that way too.
It's really not all that different than the last few years of Ben Roethlisberger's career. He says, "Look, I need some time before I decide whether I'm going to play or not."
Not uncommon for any athlete. I mean, they're under contract with their new team.
Once you reach a certain age, okay. And I know, Chuck Noll once said, if you're thinking about retirement, then you retire. That was 40 years ago. It's a different game today.
There's a lot more money involved. There's a lot more off-season. I mean, some of those guys sold insurance in the off-season.
They didn't. They didn't have the full season train year round.
Right.
Like, okay, if you're thinking about retirement in 1975, I get it because you get another job that you do on the side that maybe you just want to do that.
Yeah.
Guys didn't play into their late 30s and early 40s.
I mean, it was then too, but it's just a huge commitment to say, yes, I'm in. Because it's diving in with both feet, like you said. You're not sneaking off to Egypt. You're not going into a dark retreat or whatever. Right. I mean, you need to constantly train your mind, your body, everything about it.
And
it's a big commitment. And it's a longer season. There's more money involved. It's people play later if they want. I'm sure he has his own private quarterback coach and all that stuff too that Bradshaw didn't have. And of course,
So it's just a lot more involved. So what Chuck Noll said 40 years ago or 50 years ago really doesn't factor into this.
No, I'm sure there's been. I bet we could come up with 10 football players in the last couple of years, Kelsey or whoever, thought about retirement and came back.
And didn't, and came back and played well.
Right.
Again, you're either in or you're out, but if you're in, you got to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're deciding right now. Do I want to put my body through this again?
Right. I mean, it is a strain.
Yeah.
And doesn't sound like money is the most important thing to him, which is, I thought that was good to hear too. I don't know if he'll play for $10 million, but I get what he's saying.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, I saw this today on SI.com. Their Matt Verderami, I guess, or Verderami.
I forget how to pronounce it. He's been in the business for a while.
Been in the business for a while. He put together the top picks at every spot in a draft.
Okay, I'm not
in
following.
The history of the game.
Oh, okay. I thought he was predicting this upcoming draft. Okay, like who was the best 23rd pick overall or whatever. Like,
so I thought we'd go through some of these and see if we agree.
It's funny. We talked with Bob yesterday about the Steelers picking 21. Lynn Swan, was one of them. Right. That's a pretty good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. So first overall.
How do you narrow that down?
So he chose Peyton Manning. Yeah. But here are some of the other guys who were chosen first overall.
There's a million of them.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously, they're going to be good.
O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
Terry Bradshaw.
Say what you want about O.J. Simpson. I think he's one of the most underrated backs in the history of the league.
Leroy Selman. Earl Campbell. John Elway.
I say Elway comes to mind for me as immediate.
Bruce Smith. Troy Aikman. I get it. He won 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Orlando Pace and Myles Garrett.
Okay. Pretty good list. Peyton Manning, all right.
I might go Elway, too.
I think Elway would be my pick.
Yeah.
Manning was great, don't get me wrong, but Elway would be my pick.
Number 2 overall. His pick is Lawrence Taylor in 1981.
I'd say LT to me stands out on this one.
The honorable mentions, Randy White in 75.
Okay.
Tony Dorsett in 77. Eric Dickerson in 83. A lot of running backs here.
Crazy that the Cowboys got Dorsett in 77 when they were already like one of the best teams in the league.
Well, I traded.
I know.
Marshall Faulk in 94.
He was too, yeah.
Tony Baselli in 95. Julius Peppers in 2002 and Saquon Barkley in 2018.
I think LT's the choice.
Yeah.
Good call. Yeah. I'm not sure who beats him at any level.
Number 3 overall. Going back to 1980, he went with Anthony Munoz.
Maybe the best offensive tackle that ever lived.
Offensive tackle for the Bengals. The honorable mentions, well, my nub would go to this guy. Barry Sanders in 89.
Not bad.
Cortez Kennedy in 90.
Hall of Famer.
Andre Johnson in 2003.
Also a Hall of Famer.
Larry Fitzgerald in 2004. And Joe Thomas in 2007.
I would say Barry or Munoz.
I'm going Barry Sanders.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's...
Yeah, and they're both strong candidates.
4th overall. Going back to 1975.
Was Dion right after Barry in the same draft? I don't know if he was 4 or 5.
I think he was 5.
Okay.
His number 4 pick is Walter Payton in 1975.
Not too shabby.
The honorable mentions, Joe Green in 69.
Yeah, that ain't bad either, right? Yeah.
John Hanna in 73.
I think a lot of people think Joe Green was the first pick in the draft.
And he was not.
And he wasn't, right? Yeah.
John Hanna in 73. Dan Hampton in 79. Derek Thomas in 89. Jonathan Ogden in 96.
Derek Thomas was the same year as Barry Sanders. That draft was great. So was Aikman.
Yeah.
We're going to get to Dion.
It's a good one.
Right, yeah, wow.
Charles Woodson in 98 and Trent Williams in 2010.
Strong, as you would imagine. There's serious. Who is it? If Joe Green comes in second, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Number 5 is Deion Sanders, 1989.
Same class, wow.
Honorable mentions, Mike Haynes.
What's funny is Mandarich went 2 that year.
Oh, yeah.
And all these other Hall of Famers went right after the Packers.
Mike Haynes in 76, the cornerback. Junior Seau in 90. Junior Seau was a
monster, yeah.
LaDainian Tomlinson in 2001.
Okay. And then they got Drew Brees in the next round.
Yeah. And Khalil Mack in 2014.
Pretty good. I guess I'd go with Dion.
6, Walter Jones in 97.
Oh, man. You talk about, I mean, everyone knows how good he is, but I think he was as good as any player I almost ever scouted. I mean, I was in charge of the NFC West when I was with the Browns, and him and Pace were in their prime. By the fourth quarter, people just stopped rushing the passer against those guys. Just played the run. It was crazy to watch.
The honorable mentions, John Riggins in 71, James Lofton in 78, Jim Covert in 83,
Pitt,
Tim Brown in 88, and Julio Jones in 2011.
Julio's got a good case. We talked about him when he retired. Who was number 1? Who did they pick?
Walter Jones.
Oh, yeah, good.
Number 7 overall, Adrian Peterson, 2007 is his pick.
Pretty ridiculous career.
Not many honorable mentions here, though.
Really?
But there's one that could push his way into this over Adrian Peterson. Sterling Sharp in 88. Champ Bailey in 99.
That's pretty good.
Josh Allen in 2018.
Oh, I think he'll end up with the title of best number 7.
I think 5 years from now, Adrian Peterson's getting bumped off.
Yeah. I think Peterson's it's terrible to say, but like the weakest one so far.
Number 8, Ronnie Lott, 49ers in 81.
He's probably on like the all-time defensive back team,
Yeah. The honorable mentions, Larry Zonka in 68. Mike Munchak in 82.
Yeah.
Willie Rofe in 93. Christian McCaffrey in 2017.
Good, not amazing.
Yeah. Number 9 overall, Bruce Matthews by the Oilers in 83. Your honorable mentions, Brian Urlacher in 2000. Tyron Smith in 2011. Luke Kuechly in 2012.
Okay. We talked about Tyron Smith yesterday or the day before. Kuechly will go to the Hall of Fame. I think Smith will also. That's kind of weak.
Yeah. Number 10 overall, Patrick Mahomes in 2017.
I'm on board with that.
Here are the other guys, though. Marcus Allen in 82.
Good.
Rod Woodson in 87. Jerome Bettis in 93.
Okay. A little Steeler contingency there. Right. Nice. Mahomes is hard to top.
Hard to beat.
Right.
Woodson's
not bad.
Yeah. Pretty damn good. Number 11 overall. Get some argument here. He goes with J.J. Watt.
He's going to go to the Hall of Fame.
The other picks, Michael Irvin in 88.
Okay.
Ben Roethlisberger in 2004.
Yeah, strong.
DeMarcus Ware in 2005 and Patrick Willis in 2007.
I don't have a problem with Watt. Quarterbacks are strong, though.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're going to get a big contingency there.
Number 12, Warren Sapp in 1995 by the Buccaneers.
And he fell.
I
mean, I remember watching the draft. They were talking about him being the best player in the draft.
The interesting part, his honorable mention includes nobody.
Really?
There must be no Hall of Famers drafted at 12.
At 12. Okay.
Number 13, Aaron Donald, St. Louis Rams, 2014. Nice. Your honorable mentions, Franco Harris in 72.
Good.
Kellen Winslow in 79. Tony Gonzalez in 97.
That's pretty strong.
That must be where you take tight ends.
That's where you get the tight end. All right.
Number 14.
Loveland or Warren goes 13. Yeah. That's a move.
Darrelle Revis in 2007.
Good.
By the Jets. The honorable mentions, Randy Gradishar in 74.
I think he's in.
Yeah. Jim Kelly in 83.
By way of USFL.
Yeah. 15. Once again, just one guy. Alan Page, offensive tackle.
He's an all-time great.
Defensive tackle for the Vikings, 1967. No honorable mentions. 16, guy that Bob Labriola talked about on our show yesterday, Jerry Rice.
Yeah, pretty good.
85. The honorable mention.
I wonder what the Steelers picked that year, because I remember him saying they had all this interest, and he went right before the Steelers picked.
The honorable mention is Troy Polamalu in 2003.
Not a bad runner-up. There's definitely some Steelers on here.
17 is Emmitt Smith, running back, Dallas Cowboys, 1990.
Were him and Irvin the same year?
No.
They were one apart.
Yeah, Irvin was 88 or 89. The honorable mention, Gene Upshaw in 67 and Steve Hutchinson in 2001.
Okay. Emmett's a pretty easy one, I'd say there.
18, Art Monk in 1980.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
No honorable mentions against him.
Okay, that's a pretty weak spot.
Yeah. 19, Marvin Harrison, 1996. The honorable mentions are Roger Worley in 1969 and Randall McDaniel in 1988.
Not super strong either. 20
is Jack Youngblood with the Rams in 1971. Your honorable mentions, Steve Atwater in 1989.
Recent Hall of Famer. I might put Atwater over Youngblood.
21.
Wait, 18, 19, 20 aren't so great.
Where the Steelers draft this year. Randy Moss,
Also
Minnesota Vikings,
fell.
1998. He fell.
Dyson went ahead of him, which is weird.
Yeah. The honorable mention is Lynn Swann.
Nice. That's your wide receiver
74, yeah. 22. I bet there's several 74s on this list. He went the whole way through the draft. So I bet you can find 1974 Steelers
all the way
through. Yeah. 22, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I think that's worthy. He's done enough.
Nobody in the honorable mentions.
Wow, okay.
23, Ozzie Newsome, the Browns in 1978.
Hall of Famer easily.
The honorable mentions, Ray Guy, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it sounds like if you're in the Hall of Fame, he mentions you.
Apparently.
Yeah.
But that was not a good draft pick to take Ray Guy in the
right.
first round in the 1973 draft. I'm sorry.
Even if you are the best punter ever.
You could be you could be number one in it for eternity.
Yeah. Couldn't you got him in the second round?
I would think so.
Same with Janikowski.
Yeah. The other honorable mention is Ty Law in 1995.
Okay. 2 quips on there.
There you go. 24, Ed Reed, 2002. The honorable mention, Aaron Rodgers in 2005. I'm sorry.
But
Aaron Rodgers got to go over Ed Reed.
Right. Reed's amazing. Don't get me wrong.
Great player.
Amazing, right.
But Aaron Rodgers is...
I remember being a fan back then, hoping Reed got to the Steelers, and it was like 2 or 3 picks ahead of him that the Ravens snagged him.
25 is Stanley Morgan with the Patriots in 1977.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Yeah.
Guess if I put somebody there.
Somebody had, because there's no honorable mentions.
Okay, that's the weakest spot. What number was that? 24?
25.
Oh.
Ray Lewis at 26, 1996 with the Ravens. The honorable mentions.
He's the same year as Ogden, and I don't think Ogden got mentioned early in the draft.
He did.
Did he? Okay. He should.
Joe DeMalor, I can't.
DeLamalore,
yeah.
Bill.
And Alan Faneca in 98.
Okay, not bad. I would go with Lewis.
27, Dan Marino, 1983.
Also kind of slipped, but a strong quarterback draft.
Yep. The honorable mention is DeAndre Hopkins.
Probably not a Hall of Famer.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
28, Derek Brooks with the Buccaneers in 1995. The honorable mention is Darryl Green in 1983.
Okay, yeah.
29, Harrison Smith with the Vikings in 2012.
Probably not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Really good career, but probably not a Hall of Famer.
The honorable mentions are Chris Spielman in 88 and Nick Mangold in 2006.
Okay, that's probably the weakest spot so far, give or take.
30, TJ Watt.
Nice.
Pittsburgh Steelers, 2017. So both Watt brothers, 2 of the 3 Watt brothers.
Yeah.
Over Eric Allen, 1988, and Reggie Wayne, 2001.
He should be number 1 on that list.
Yeah. 31, Cameron Hayward.
Wow.
Steelers in 2011. The honorable mention is Curly Culp in 1968.
Hall of Famer, I think.
Yeah. Hayward, Hall of Famer, I think.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's on his way.
Mm-hmm.
32, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Honorable mention, Drew Brees in 2001.
But he was a second rounder. There must have been 30 teams at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lamar versus Drew Brees is a conversation.
It is. I mean, I don't know how many. Does Brees have any MVPs? I would think 1.
I think he has at least 1, yeah.
He has a ring.
He has a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a ton of passing titles and stats.
That's a conversation.
It is.
Brett Favre is at 33. He doesn't give you honorable mentions for some of these other spots.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here.
Then they traded him a year after that.
Yeah. Well, he had some stuff.
Oh, he did.
I'll go through the stuff here that's Steeler related as we go through the rest of this.
They don't go all the way down to like 200s.
He goes into the 200s, yeah. 44. Dermontti Dawson, 1988.
Nice.
I think he's the best center of all time.
I do too. He'd be my vote.
Derrick Henry's at 45. 46. Jack Lambert, Pittsburgh Steelers, 1974.
I'd say that draft is going to be pretty well represented.
I think it's going to. You might see a bunch of those. Yeah. Let's see here.
Webby and
Yeah. A.J. Brown, Ken Stabler at 52 in 68. 53. Mel Blount, Pittsburgh Steelers, 1970.
How does he last the second round?
He's a small school guy.
I know. I mean, it's just kind of 6'4" and incredibly physically imposing.
I get it. Let's see here. Pat Swilling, Brian Dawkins, Tony Hill. 63, Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
2013.
Hard to argue that.
64, Dan Fouts, 1973.
I didn't realize he was drafted that late.
Let's see here. 67, Ken Anderson.
Okay. Has a strong Hall of Fame case, but probably doesn't get in.
I think he eventually gets in, but it's
been a while.
Yeah, it's been too long. 75, Russell Wilson with the Seahawks in 2012.
Yeah, you get that guy in the third round.
Absolutely. Art Shell all the way down at 80 from 1968. 82, Joe Montana in 1979.
Nice.
We got, there's Hines Ward at 92, 1998.
A lot of Steelers on there.
A lot of Steelers on this.
15 when it's all
94, Thomas Everett.
Wow.
1987.
He's a good player. Was he the same as Woodson draft? Was it Woodson, Delton Hall, and Everett? I remember one year they had 3 defensive backs in their top 4 picks.
You got Joe Theismann of the Dolphins in 1971.
Dolphins drafted him? They trade him right away?
Yeah, he went to the CFL.
Oh, yeah.
Came back in 1974.
Okay. Came back with Washington.
Yeah. 104, Dwight White, 1971, Pittsburgh Steelers. 106.
What college?
They don't list the college.
I can't remember Dwight White's college,
Like Alabama or something or other. I don't know. Somewhere down.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was a historical black college or not.
Max Crosby at 106 in 2019.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, had some stuff. Let's see here. Kevin Green by the Rams in 1985 at 113.
Yeah, Hall of Famer.
Herschel Walker by the Cowboys in 1985.
By way of USFL.
Yeah. Interesting. Steve Largent by the Oilers in 1976.
He was phenomenal.
Imagine if he had stayed with the Oilers.
I forgot he was an Oiler first.
No, they had the expansion draft.
Yeah, that's how that worked. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did he get to Seattle?
Mark Brunell was 118 by the Packers in 1993.
Packers drafted a bunch of quarterbacks.
That's why you keep drafting quarterbacks, yeah.
Hasselbeck and,
Hardy Nickerson, 1987.
Steelers.
Linebacker with the Steelers at 122.
That's the 4th round?
Yeah. 125. Mike Webster, 1974.
Boom.
They did okay in that 74 draft. 128. Barry Sanders, 1990. Or Barry Foster, I'm sorry. Barry Foster, 1990.
I'll take it.
That's kind of what you're hoping for in this draft.
Yeah,
get that guy.
That kind of that neighborhood.
Let's see here. Isaiah Likely already making the list at 139 from 2022. That's a little. It has to be somebody.
A little rich after
at 139
3 years or whatever.
It has to be somebody else that drafted at 139 that makes that list. Let's see. 150. Greg Lloyd, 1987. Steelers did pretty good in that 87 draft.
They're represented quite well here, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
East Texas A&M from our
there
guy
you go.
Tyler.
I knew it was somewhere.
I knew it was a small, tiny school, right?
Tyreek Hill at 165 in 2016.
He had some
off-the-field stuff.
Yeah.
Gary Anderson, 171 by the Buffalo Bills in 1982.
No, he wasn't a Steeler pick. Okay.
He was not a Steeler pick.
I assume they just cut him early. And
183, Bo Jackson, Raiders, 1987.
And it would have been one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think he was one by Tampa. Yeah. He was. And then he went and played baseball.
Played baseball and came back in.
Bucs, right.
1970, wide receiver Dave Smith by the Steelers.
I don't know Dave Smith.
Let's see. 195 in 2010, pick 195, Antonio Brown by the Steelers.
Yeah, that's an easy one, I'm sure.
Yeah. Terrell Davis at 196, so 2 Hall of Famers back-to-back. Should be Hall of Famers. And then at 199, Tom Brady.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So 6 rounds where you mine these future
that's where you
Hall
pick
of
up
Famers.
some Hall of Famers. Right?
203, Richard Dent in 83.
Interesting.
Like when you hit in the 6th round, you hit in the 6th round. When you don't, you get some of these other guys.
I'm sure there's some reaches in there, yeah.
David Tyree. Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Tim Rattay.
Okay.
We're digging. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Tom Nalen. Okay.
Imagine putting this list together.
Oh, Mark Clayton with the.
That's not bad for this late, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and number 224, Jay Ratliff, defensive tackle, Cowboys, 2005.
Okay.
That's a heck of a list he put together.
Is Purdy not on there? Is the last one?
He only went to 224 for some reason.
Oh, okay. I don't know what number he was, but he's later than that. Huh?
Yeah.
Nice. Steelers very well represented.
Extremely well represented on that list.
Yeah. There's a couple. What's kind of funny is there's a couple spots in the first round that weren't that great.
I don't know how John Stallworth didn't make the list. What pick was John Stallworth?
He was second rounder, right?
No, he was 4th rounder.
4th rounder?
Yeah. I got to look that up now. 1974, what overall pick was? He was 86? 82nd
Also his
pick.
number.
There you go. The 82nd pick, according to Tyler, and that is correct. Webby was the one at 125. Who did he have at 82? Better than John Stallworth.
At least has to be an honorable mention.
I would think. And my computer is frozen up here.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, wait.
We can investigate that at the break if we have to.
We can look into that. We're going to get to a break. Well, wait. Yep.
What?
No, maybe not. Oh, yeah, there it goes. 82 on this list was, this is good radio. No, this site's, we're going to get to a break.
All right.
We'll do the break. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it was Joe Montana who went over John Stallworth. So I get it.
We were double-checking his work, and Matt did a pretty good job.
He did a pretty good job. I'm just looking here to see if there's any other Steelers through the years that may have made that list. That
I'm just trying to kick around like late-round picks that were huge successes. Like Antonio Brown's like the poster child.
Yeah,
obviously.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just looking here at some of these ones that didn't have any honorable mentions, or had some players that was like a little sketchy. Like Art Monk at 18 had no honorable mentions.
That's funny, yeah.
Well,
18, 19, 20, I remember, was pretty weak.
Marquise Pouncey was the 18th pick in the 2010 draft.
Oh, really? It should be an honorable mention at least. I mean,
I would think.
Minimum,
you've got some other guys on this list that are like, eh.
I mean, a minimum, I think Pouncey's a Hall of Fame finalist.
Yeah, he has where are the goods.
Mm-hmm.
Going back a little bit more here. I mean, Max Starks at 75.
Oh, heck yeah. What number was Wolf picked? Tunch.
Yeah. 19, okay. I was just looking there for Casey Hampton.
First round's tough.
First round is difficult, but there were some that only have one guy listed. And I'm like, okay.
I remember 18, 19, 20-ish were not real strong.
Troy Edwards, that's a no.
Mm-hmm. Like I don't remember like Will Fork's name being mentioned.
No, that's another one. Like the defensive tackles kind of get a little.
Yeah, they got a little short.
Let's see.
I don't remember Richard Seymour's name. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, some of those guys didn't cut the mustard there. 94, no. 93, no. 92.
What pick is the Steelers have the 83rd pick this year as well?
Yes.
That's right in the Stallworth neighborhood. Stallworth and Montana both went 82, right?
Yeah, right. So you can get some good.
There has been good stuff mined in that neighborhood.
Absolutely. Dawson was a 44th pick. So that was a good one. That 87 draft was Rod Woodson at 10.
Mm-hmm.
Delton Hall at 38, Charles Lockett at 66, and then Thomas Everett at 94,
yeah.
Hardy Nickerson.
That's doesn't get talked about enough maybe as a great Steeler draft.
And then Greg Lloyd at 150.
Oh, wow. That's the thing about rebuilding your defense.
That's a pretty good one. And you also got Merrill Hodge that year at 261.
Nice. Not like Delton Hall was a bad player, but you get Woodson, Everett, Lockett, Lloyd for your defense for the next 10 years or whatever.
Well, Charles Lockett was a wide receiver.
Who am I missing then? There was 4.
You got Woodson.
There was 4 starters.
Everett.
I didn't say
Lloyd.
Everett.
And I guess that was really Nickerson.
Nickerson. Yeah. There were 4 big-time guys.
That's how you rebuild your team because they were bad.
Yeah.
87, 88. They were not a good football team.
Secondary must have been horrible.
Yeah.
3 of the first 4 picks.
That's why they went out and did that.
Yeah.
And then, you follow it up. They took Carnell Lake.
The way I remember it, too.
In 89.
There was a lot of talk that Woodson might go to the Olympics, which is maybe why he dropped a couple spots. And I think he held out for a while.
He did.
Yeah, because of the Olympic stuff, right.
So, interesting.
It is.
But, yeah, that's a heck of an undertaking.
Can you imagine? I mean, even I thought he was just going to be the first round, and then you start getting into 200.
When your editor gives you that task, you say, okay, I'm going to go in the room for about 3 weeks.
Right.
Don't bother me.
I think you search the internet and be like, has anyone done this before that I could take as a jumping off point?
Well,
so I don't have to go through the last 10
you go to
drafts
drafthistory.com and you can kind of go through and pick out dudes.
Yeah. I mean, who's
to do it through 200 and some picks?
That's the thing. You have to go. And it doesn't sound like they went before the Super Bowl era. Like Gale Sayers wasn't on
it was a Super Bowl era.
Okay, yeah. I mean, at least you narrow it down to, 55, 60 drafts, something like that. Not very narrowing it down.
No, and it's growing larger.
Yeah,
like Leon.
Exactly.
Leon is growing larger.
You get into the 200s though too. Like who's even close?
Right.
The first round wouldn't be that bad.
No, but you could. I mean, you'd have to go through draft by draft.
Right.
Not fun.
No, I liked going through it, but I would not want to compile
after about a week, your eyeballs are going. Meh.
Yeah. All right, let's knock out the next.
You want a lot of Visine. Yeah.
What are you gonna do today? I'm gonna do picks 58 through 112.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can't argue with a lot of what he had on there either. I mean,
that was on SI.com?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
interesting. That's well done.
Interesting.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, it is time to do a little mock draft madness here as we get closer. We're a week away from the draft.
It is 1 week away. We should open the show with that, right?
Hard to believe it's finally going to be here. And
I'm ready.
As Bob Labriola said yesterday, we can finally start talking about who's actually on the team.
Mm-hmm.
These
landing spots I'm ready to diagnose as opposed to the players themselves.
Yes. So we're working off the Pro Football Network mock drafter today, and we are on the clock here. We got the New Orleans Saints calling with the trade offer of picks 40 and 71 and next year's 2.
They could pick first overall.
We could for pick 21 and pick 229.
I'm interested.
Okay. The other call is from the Seahawks, who are offering 50 and 52 and next year's 2 for 21 and 229.
I think the Saints deal sounds better. I mean, their future pick, I think, could be really, really early.
It's a higher second pick. Let's see who is available here before we do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. Nick Emuari, safety out of South Carolina. Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama. Jihad Campbell, linebacker from Alabama. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, Ole Miss. Gray Zabel, offensive lineman from North Dakota State. Nick Scourton, edge rusher from Texas A&M. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, the quarterback.
Maybe that's a Saints target.
Kenneth Grant is still there. It looks like did he go? Yeah, Derek Harmon went at 12 to the Cowboys.
Okay. Well, Nolan and Grant are appealing, but it might be fun to build one from 40.
I think from a Steeler perspective, I just have a feeling they've got Harmon as their number 1 guy of that.
Wouldn't
group.
shock me. He seems to be gaining steam just amongst the mockers and insiders.
You start looking at the measurables, the motor runs hot.
Yeah. I would say there's fewer question marks with him than the other two.
Yeah. I think if he is available at 21.
You think they just do it?
I think they just do it.
Mm-hmm. I understand it. Let's trade back. Let's do something fun.
Okay. Let's look
all the way to 40. Wow.
40, 71, and next year's 2 for the Saints.
Next year's 2 is valuable to me.
Yeah. Now, the question then becomes, if we get next year's 2 from the Saints, do we try to move up from 40 to get back up?
I'd consider moving the Steelers 2. I'm holding on to the Saints 2.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe trade the Steelers 2.
Because I'm going to guess that my own 2 is going to be later than what the Saints 2 is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I'll take that risk.
I mean, maybe you let the first round go by and see, is Nolan or Grant still there at 33?
That would be my,
Yeah, maybe you could even move the Steelers 3rd and next year's 2nd and not move off 40.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Right.
Yeah. All right, I'll accept that one.
Yeah, okay. And maybe let the draft go by 10 picks or whatever.
All right, we're at the end of the first round here. The Eagles are up at 32. Grant is still there. And, Grant is still there. Jalen Milroe also there. Omarion Hampton also there.
Wow. Do you want to let it go a few more?
Okay.
I'd be happy with any of those, but I'd also be pretty eager to.
Okay, we're at 36. The Bills traded back. Hampton went to 32 to the Eagles. I don't see that.
No.
Jackson Dart goes to the Browns.
Good.
Wyatt Millum to the Giants. Landon Jackson to the Titans. The Bills are up.
They must trade it back, huh?
Yeah. Do we want to make a offer here to try to get back up?
Would Grant be your target?
Well, here's what's available. Geod Campbell, Egbuka, Luther Burden, Jalen Milroe, Kenneth Grant. Those are the top 5 guys available.
I was going to ask you this when we made the trade. Would you be comfortable with Milroe at 40? I think everyone on the planet knows I would.
If I get somebody else, if I'm able to get back up here and do something.
I'd be super comfortable if I had a D-tackle in the bag. But if it was my first pick, I still would be. But I'd feel a lot more better if it was Grant and we didn't have to move 40 and got Milroe.
I'm going to get the Bills on the phone.
Okay. Let's offer him this year's 3rd.
In 71? Is
that the one we got from the Saints?
That's one of the extra picks we got from the Saints.
71 and maybe next year's 3 or 2? I have no problem moving the Steelers 2. I'm keeping that Saints 2. That might be 33.
Okay, they didn't accept the first offer.
Would you give them 71 and 83?
I would think.
I would.
Let's see here. I'm going to go 71, 83, and next year's 3.
3 threes for an early 2? 3 threes for Grant? Yeah.
They didn't want it.
Now maybe let a couple picks go off.
They might take Grant.
I think they could.
Yeah. Okay, they did not. They took Egbuka.
Yeah, that makes sense for them too.
Okay, so now we're up at 40. Pick 39 is coming up. Kenneth Grant is still there. Do we think the Bears might take Kenneth Grant?
Slight chance.
So you want to let it ride?
Well, we pick him one pick, right?
We have one more pick before we pick.
Let's let it ride.
Here's what's Geod Campbell, Luther Burden, Kenneth Grant.
Milroe still
Josh
there?
Connerly is there. No, Milroe went to the Giants. They traded up to go get Milroe.
Let's roll the dice.
Okay.
See if he gets to 40.
They took Prince Hugh.
Good.
Okay.
So we get Grant at 40.
We're just going to I got offers here, but we're rejecting them because we're taking Kenneth Grant.
I mean, I considered him a 21.
Right.
So we get that extra 2 for next year and basically get our same guy.
The next question then becomes, is there somebody that we want to trade up to go get? We got 71 and 83 coming up. To move up to this point, we're going to give up one of those 2 picks, but we're going to, and probably something next year, maybe a 3rd to come up.
I don't know who that guy would be. I mean, frankly, I'd consider trading up for Shuck.
Well, so you got Travion Henderson, Caleb Johnson, Quinshon Judkins. all still available. At the quarterback position, you got Shuck, and then Howard, Ewers, Gabriel, Leonard, McCord, Rourke.
I'd consider Henderson or Shuck, but maybe let it roll 5 to 10 picks. See if either's still hanging there. We can get
There's three backs still available. Shuck might make it to one of our picks.
And Shuck could fall.
Because all the teams that needed quarterbacks have taken quarterbacks. There's 4 quarterbacks gone.
Yeah. I don't know. I think let it ride and see what happens with those 2
All
thirds.
right, we're going to take Kenneth Grant here.
Yes.
I'll pause it here in a minute once we get to the 50. Okay, we're into the 50s. And Ursery, Higgins, Azaria Thomas, Maxwell Hairston, Jonas Savania, Trey Amos, Tate Ratledge, Mukaba, Luther Burden, Emory Jones, Mason Taylor, Benjamin Morrison have all gone. All the running backs are there at 53 with Tampa Bay's pickup.
And it was Henderson, Johnson, and Judkins.
Yes.
I think you take Henderson, right? And we traded up for him yesterday.
We traded up for him
like
yesterday.
Him any less
do
now?
We roll the dice. We got to pick in 18 more picks that all 3 of those guys
I guess there's a chance
aren't going to be gone. Or do I wait and see as soon as one of them goes, then we make our move?
And what if we take Shuck now? I assume he's still there, is he?
I'd be willing to wait on a quarterback at this point. I mean, because again, 4 teams have filled their quarterback needs in the are they going to? Is somebody else going to jump in there and take him just because?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what are you suggesting? Not making this pick now? We're on the clock, right?
We got no.
Oh, okay. That's
I'm saying, do we trade up to 53
with 3 of them on the board?
We got another pick. Our next pick is in 18 picks.
Okay. No, I would not trade up with 3 backs that you're still happy out there.
Now, as soon as I see one go,
well, then maybe
I'm going to hit pause again and see where we're at.
Cool.
And they're still on the board at pick 59.
Okay.
We're going into round 3. They're all still on the board.
Great.
We're pick 65, and we have pick 71. So 3 would need to go in the next 6 picks. We're probably going to get. We're going to get one of those guys, more than likely. Okay, 1 just went. Judkins goes to the Bears.
Fine. That adds up,
we pick now. Jacksonville's ahead of us, and then we pick Henderson and Johnson are still on the board. We're going to get one of those 2 guys.
Good.
Okay.
I think I'd take Henderson.
Henderson over Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting.
They're very different.
They're very different. Johnson is a good zone runner.
Oh, he would fit really well.
Henderson gives you more in the passing game, to be sure.
Mm-hmm. More big playability. I do like the size difference,
Yeah. All right, we'll take Henderson here.
I'm cool with that, yeah.
Okay, we got another pick coming up at 83. And we are on the clock.
I'd be highly interested in Shuck. I'd be interested in what D linemen are still out there, too. We only got
Shuck
one.
is there. Defensive line, you're looking at Alfred Collins, Omar Norman Lott, Shamar Turner, Josh Farmer, C.J. West, Jordan Phillips, Jamari Caldwell, J.J. Pegues. All the nose tackle types are still there.
We did take Grant, though.
Yeah, we took Grant.
And I don't mind that Collins and Grant are sort of redundant. I think they can move up and down the line of scrimmage. Who's best available? Is there some
cornerback? Dorian Strong is there. Zay Alexander, Kobe Bryant, Jordan Hancock, Jacob Paris, Quincy Riley. I don't know. Best available is Alfred Collins.
That adds up.
Harold Fannin is still there. Tyler Shuck still there. Omar Norman Lott, Shamar Turner, the defensive tackle from Texas A&M. Latham Ransom, safety from Ohio State. Cameron Williams.
Would you have any problem going like Grant and Caldwell or Grant and Phillips if you waited around? Like if we did Shuck here, do a D tackle next round. They seem like they'll be nosier, but there might be.
There might be one of those guys that has some.
The A&M dude might be there or whatever.
Yeah.
I would vote for Shuck here. There's still a lot of D tackle.
No problem taking Shuck here.
Yeah.
83, Tyler Shuck.
Okay. There's still a lot of D tackle talent on the board.
Yeah. And we
didn't trade our 4th pick, right?
We did not.
4th round. Okay.
So we're up at 123. The top player available is Josh Farmer.
Great. I wouldn't have any qualms with that at all.
Also available at the defensive tackle are Jordan Phillips, Jamari Caldwell, J.J. Pegues, Riley Mills from Notre Dame, Elijah Roberts from SMU.
I don't think Farmer's only a nose either.
Yeah. Elijah Roberts does have. I mean, has the classic size.
I know. I just think Farmer's a better prospect.
Aeneas Peebles, Ty Robinson, Cam Jackson, Tim Smith. I mean, there's just nose tackles galore.
There's a lot. We could probably even still wait.
Yeah.
Who's best available, regardless of position?
Farmer.
Yeah.
Will Howard, Logan Brown, offensive tackle out of Texas, or Kansas, I should say. Rondé Gadsden, the tight end out of Syracuse. Jaden Reed, the safety out of Penn State. Damian Martinez, running back from Miami.
We took Henderson, though.
Mm-hmm. Dante Thornton, wide receiver from Tennessee. Quinn Ewers. Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle from Maryland. Jackson Slater, the guard from Sacramento
a lot of
State.
We've already addressed.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a great corner or wide out jumping out at
Anthony Belton is there, the offensive tackle from NC State. Jalen Travis, the offensive tackle from Iowa State.
I would vote Farmer.
Savion Jones is there. Would you be willing to take a shot at Savion Jones there?
Not over Farmer. I would vote for Farmer or Belton. I think Belton's pretty good value to still be there.
I think he is too.
You know,
I don't think he should still be there.
Right. I mean, he might be your left guard next year.
Yeah.
I think that's
a good chance he might be your left guard.
Yeah, real good chance.
All right, Anthony Belton.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. Especially with all the D tackles that are still out there.
Yeah. All right, we are up again here now.
Did we trade the fifth rounder to the Saints?
No, our last.
It was the last one.
Yeah, we got.
I was thinking it was
we got two picks left. This one and 185.
Okay.
Okay, so
this doesn't have to be a D tackle, but I bet there's something out there.
You're looking at J.J. Pegues.
Yeah.
Raleigh Mills from Notre Dame, Elijah Roberts from SMU.
Okay.
Let's see, just defensive tackles. Simeon Barrow from Miami, Aeneas Peebles from Virginia Tech, Ty Robinson from Nebraska.
Take Robinson?
Robinson versus Roberts is, I think it's got to be Roberts or Robinson, one of the two.
I'm cool with either. They're both very different than Grant.
Roberts is long, like he's not longer. He's not taller.
Yeah.
But he's got the arm length and everything.
He might have more upside.
Yeah.
You know, if we're developing, and is there any corner or receiver that just too good to be true type of
cornerback? Jabbar Muhammad from Oregon, Upton Stout from Western Kentucky, Justin Wally from Minnesota.
That wouldn't be bad.
Jalen Smith from USC.
I like both those guys.
One of those guys might be available though when we take Caleb Ransaw from Tulane is there. Mello
I like
Dotson.
him too.
So there's a good group of corners there.
There are. How about wideout?
That's going to be picked over.
I'm sure.
Jalen Lane from Virginia Tech, Nick Nash.
I like Lane.
From San Jose State, Isaiah Bond from Texas, Ricky White from UNLV.
I think one of those D linemen. Who do you prefer, SMU or Ty Roberts?
Let's take Roberts. We haven't taken him.
Okay.
Everybody knows my love for for Roberts. We can't take him every draft.
Right.
Or for Robinson. And Roberts was in for a visit, so.
Yeah. There's definitely interest there.
Yeah. All right, we're up here again at 185.
There were corners.
Jabbar Muhammad, still there. Upton Stout, still there. Justin Wally, still there.
Wally would be
I think you take Justin Wally.
Yeah, I think that's a strong choice.
Boom.
Right.
Done.
Good. I like how this worked out.
Now, that also assumes
we got a second-round pick.
Nobody took Grant, which was...
Well, that worked out, but we also monitored it as it was going, too.
We did.
We didn't... we were ready to jump if we had to.
Yeah. So we got at 40.
The same second-round pick now.
Yeah, all right. At 40, we got Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan. At 71, we got Travion Henderson, running back from Ohio State. I don't know if there's any chance of that happening.
I don't either, but that's a heck of a good start.
Yeah. At 83, we got Tyler Shuck, quarterback from Louisville. 123 was Anthony Belton.
Great.
He can be maybe our swing guy this year.
Yeah, just maybe cross-train him a little bit.
A little bit. Offensive tackle from NC State. 156 was Elijah Roberts, defensive tackle from SMU. 185 was Justin Wally, cornerback from Minnesota. And we got the Saints 2026 second-round pick.
We're loaded with next year picks. Cool. We didn't give anything up from next year either.
No.
We're loaded. So maybe Shuck does something good, maybe he doesn't, but you have all kinds of ammo to go get a quarterback next year if you want.
Yeah. I mean, if we hadn't made the trade and we came out of this draft with that.
I don't think we would have got Henderson.
Well, we wouldn't have gotten Henderson.
Have been minus Henderson, right. The exact same deal. But we got the Saints second-round pick and Henderson.
Right.
Great. And we would have had a seventh-rounder.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather have Henderson in the Saints second-round pick. Whatever jag we got in the seventh.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, yeah.
Again, you never know how a draft is going to work.
I know.
out. And
the only unbelievable thing to me, or close to, is Henderson lasting that long.
Yeah.
I mean,
but all the backs did.
But they all did, right? I mean,
nobody picked. I could kind of see that happening this year.
I mean, how many teams truly need a back? I mean, I understand it's a rich crop.
Somebody asked that on the message board. Could you see the backs kind of falling after the first 4 or 5 go, because everybody looks at it and says there's so many.
There's so many.
There's like 30 draftable running backs in this draft. There's 30 guys. And this isn't me saying this. This is all the talking heads.
Pretty clear, yeah.
30 guys with draftable grades. Well, there aren't going to be needs for 30 teams for running
30,
back.
Defensive ends and wide, stuff that are harder to find.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll even go through it sometime between now and the draft. Like, how many teams' top 2 or 3 needs is a running back? There aren't many.
Yeah. Now, everybody could use one. You're going to take one and stash them on your bench. But again, there's 30.
I mean, I think most teams will probably draft one.
Yeah.
But most are going to be on day 3.
But if I've only got, say, 4 picks going into this draft, am I going to use one on a running back?
Right. Minnesota's probably not.
Probably not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could use one, but are they going to do that? Probably not.
Probably not.
Right. I mean, Atlanta doesn't have a lot of picks. They're not going to take a running back.
They're not taking a running back anyways.
Right,
they got Robinson and Algier.
Right. We could go through all the teams. There's a lot of teams that probably won't.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday right here on these very airways. You can also download the Steelers mobile app and listen to the show there. Or you can watch along on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up on there. Leave us your comments. Tell us how stupid we are for making this draft. The people who do that, by the way, everybody thinks, and maybe it's just they're new to the show.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you guys made that pick. Why would you do that? Like, we explain it, first of all, why we're doing it.
We do talk through it, and it's not just like, take him.
Yeah, we don't just – so watch the show.
Mm-hmm.
And also, this is probably about the 100th mock draft that we've run.
Maybe 400th.
And the reason we do this is they run through these different scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, this is what could happen.
Especially early on. It was getting to know. I mean, I didn't know the 5th, 6th, 7th rounders when we start doing mocks. Now it's like, okay, well, you can get them in this neighborhood, and it's your build.
Right. It's why we do these things. We learn the players, help you learn the players, and see where these guys are going at least according to these mock drafts. That's why we use different mock draft simulators every time as well.
So I was listening to Todd McShay's most recent podcast, and they were going through just scenarios. First 2 picks for every team. Would you rather go running back now and tight end later, or tight end now and running back later? And when you do it for every team, it's usually a pretty clear answer which direction's better.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're going to get to a break. When we come back, it is Twitter Thursday, or X-Twitter Thursday as
they're rolling in, too.
And the questions are rolling in. We'll get to those right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it is a Thursday. That means it is the X-Twitter Thursday.
Yeah, let's go.
Actually, remember to send out the questions, or the call for questions today. First one here is from Mike Foster, longtime listener. I read somewhere that on or after April 28th, free agents signed by teams are no longer count against compensatory pick formula. Is this true? Yes, it is. After the draft.
After the draft, yeah.
As soon as the draft is over, the compensatory formula is out the window.
That doesn't matter one bit. Yep.
Guys haven't been signed at that point, then they're just free.
And I think it doesn't go without saying, but I like to reiterate it. Rodgers doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
I mean, because he was cut.
I don't know where that rumor started at, but somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about.
I've heard a lot of people, which, I mean, it's a pretty deep rule. I mean, if you're a casual fan, you wouldn't know the difference in that, I'm sure.
Is there anyone out there the Steelers should look at on that date? ? Nick Chubb ? I'm not in on Chubb at all.
I would have interest in Dobbins, Chubb, or Gus Edwards if you didn't take a back until like the 5th round.
No. The only one of those guys I would even be slightly interested in would be Dobbins.
Dobbins is my favorite of the
Gus Edwards, I could have, again, I know my 40 time. You don't think I can get under 6 seconds. I'll bet I could still beat Gus Edwards in a race.
I hear you.
He is slow.
The reason I brought him up, though, is if they went with Sampson or a smaller.
I get what you're looking for
right.
A bigger back to run between the tackles.
Yeah,
I get
my
it.
goal line back. He might not even make the team.
Yeah.
I mean, the contracts you could get those guys for, especially Edwards.
I understand what you're saying there, and I jest about Gus Edwards, but this draft is so deep. I would be shocked if they came out of this draft without another running back.
I would too. I mean, I think they'll draft one no matter what.
Yeah,
but if it's
and maybe two. And they might get one as an undrafted free agent that you really like.
That's the other thing I was going to say is I would spend a little extra for the undrafted free agent, even if you took Hampton in the first round.
Yeah.
Just go get someone that's an NFL player, an extra draft pick. Basically.
And let him be your return guy. And
redshirt him for a year.
You'll find a way to use him.
Warren might not be on the team next year.
Yeah.
Jedrick Wills.
I guess.
Maybe. I mean, if we went through a deep free agent list post-draft, which I bet we will.
We will. I'm sure who's still out there.
2 or 3 names of it.
Because there'll be some spots that they don't fill in the draft, and that's when you would start looking at those guys.
They've signed some veteran edges that would have, maybe you could do that. That's better than Moon, but he'd have to have some kind of special teams quality.
Yeah. Paul asked, we all like the idea of trading back a few spots in the first round, but who is your list of players you would absolutely not trade away from? Well, again, I don't
think I have one.
It wouldn't be a list of players, like single players that I wouldn't trade away from, but if 2 of the 3 defensive tackles are gone,
it'd be hard. It'd be a lot harder to move.
Yeah, moving back.
Yeah, that's the one scenario. I don't think there's a name like Tyler Warren's there. I think that would just be like, who wants to trade for Tyler Warren?
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe you can get more out of it. Right.
Yeah. Paul also asks, it sounds like Aaron Rodgers won't have a decision before the draft. Does that impact how aggressively the Steelers pursue a quarterback in the draft this year? I don't believe it does.
I don't believe it does either, because I have a feeling if Rodgers never becomes a Steeler,
excuse me, couldn't get
Kirk Cousins will, or even Derek Carr. I bet they will have I'm sure they have a contingency plan.
There's a contingency plan there. And
that wouldn't change your draft strategy.
You either like the quarterbacks in this draft or you don't. I don't think whether you have a quarterback or not changes that process at all.
Right, because all those guys would be 1-year rentals / old.
Yeah. In a deeper class with a massive second tier after the blue chips, it seems most teams would like to trade down. Could that mean a trade up is discounted relative to previous years, hurting the Steelers' potential return if they trade back from 21, or maybe help them in the second or third round?
I don't think that's crazy. Yeah,
no, I think that's a fair point. And I think it also depends on how far up you're coming up to go and what you're coming up to get. Like if one of those quarterbacks is still there at 21 and somebody's on the phone, there's a good chance who the quarterback needy teams are.
Yeah. I did a mailbag on my DK podcast yesterday, and there were a lot of questions of if the Browns or Giants want to get from 34 or whatever to 21, what kind of haul could you get? Obviously for a quarterback. And I said, well, I'm going to kind of hold their feet to the fire. But to answer this question,
I want this year's too. I want next year's too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically what I said.
Yeah.
Maybe even
and more.
Or third this year too.
I want a little sweetener in the back end this year.
Yeah, that's basically what I said. Like, give me 34 next year's 2, and hopefully your third, and maybe I'll give you a 5th.
Yeah,
something like that is. But for this question, if it's the Bills or the Chiefs, and they're the other ones on the phone, you might not get as much as you think. Just because there's not going to be a ton of teams banging down your door to get there.
Yeah.
Might be a good year to trade up if you're the Bills or Chiefs.
Right. Steel Warrior 55 asks, are you tired of this whole Aaron Rodgers saga? What would you do for quarterback if you both ran the team? I'm not tired of the Aaron Rodgers saga because I haven't fretted over it at all. There was a time when all this thing started, I'm like, yeah, they need to give him a deadline, all this stuff. But then after being at the owners' meetings,
no one seems to be fretting
Nobody
about
seems to be too frazzled about it.
Yeah.
I
mean, to pull back the curtain, this time of year, there's not a lot of news in the league.
Right.
And we've talked to draft to death, and we've mocked to death. So coming up with 5 days, 2 hours a day of content isn't easy right this minute. But we're not like we're talking about Aaron Rodgers every minute. We're not fretting about it or, it's out there. Everyone kind of knows at this point. And today there was a little bit of news, but not earth-shattering.
No, nothing earth-shattering. And again, I still think it happens, but it's going to happen at some point. And again, once he's in, he has to be in.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It can't be okay. I'm going to play, but I'm going to miss 3/4 of OTAs because I have to go to Tokyo.
Yeah.
You know, there's a.
I mean, it's different if
cherry blossom this year that's never been seen before.
Right. I mean, it's different if there's a family emergency, or
right.
Yeah, of
that's
course.
different stuff.
And that's
stuff
the same true.
Happens with every one of these guys. Yeah,
and everyone. Right.
Marco A. Romero Navarro says, just want to recognize the great work you have done of draft preparation. Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, we've been hitting it hard.
Also prepared all of our listeners for this year's draft a great deal.
I would say as much as any year we've hit it hard.
Steel Warrior also, he has got a bunch of questions on here. What do you think of Rodgers' appearance on the Pat Show and what it means for the Steelers?
Just rewind an hour. Yeah.
He also asks, what's favorite draft prospect you hope the Steelers get?
We could come up with a lot.
Yeah.
Shuck and Milrow are my quarterbacks. I kind of have a little soft spot for Rourke, too. I don't know how that would work. Martinez is one of my favorite running back fits, but I don't think he was one of the guys in on a visit, and they had a lot. There's some blocking tight ends. I mean, I'm not trying to go like just first-round picks. I'm just like, ooh, that would be fun. I get a lot of heat for, boy, you take Charles Grant all the time.
Yeah, because he's there and he's good.
He's there and he's good, and if he would have went to the Senior Bowl, I think he might have been a first-round pick. You know, D lineman galore. I think we've talked that to death.
Yeah,
there's a handful of mid to late round corners I'm warming up to. The Minnesota dude, probably the top of the list. Some of those type of guys. I guess if you listened, you've heard. You know.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about these guys. Everybody knows my Robinson.
There's one, great one.
That
there's some mid-round receivers I have an eye on.
Williams from Washington State.
That's a good one.
A good one that, if you get those guys, great. But
we could put a long list together. We could probably do a whole show on it. Right?
Yeah, we usually end up taking those guys in our mock drafts. R.J. Poyer asks, pretty unlikely scenario, but how would you guys feel about a major trade down to the 40s? Well, we just did this.
That's actually,
What would a trade package look like for you? Also, could you guys try to do a mock draft that would simulate something like this? Well, RJ,
wow, you beat
as luck would have it, we did it today.
Didn't read that question before we do it, but just rewind 5 minutes on that.
There you go. Scott Payne asks, how can the Steelers get hung up over one player 2 years in a row? Why not set a deadline? Who the player they got hung up on last year?
I assume you're talking about Russell Wilson, but they didn't get hung up on him.
No, not at all. They signed him like the first day of free agency.
Right.
I'm
Pickett, Fields.
I'm not understanding who they got hung up on last year.
Maybe Fields. I mean, I guess that lingered for a little bit. There was rumors, but
that doesn't mean.
But that was a trade. I mean, there's another team involved.
They actually waited it out the right way because initially the Bears were asking for we need to get a 2, then it's got to be a 3, and they ended up trading for a 6. Like I don't understand the question.
Who they waited on?
Yeah,
I don't know.
May Joyner asks, they once moved off stars like Faneca and Joey Porter before the decline. Now it looks like they're holding on to Cam and Watt deep into their 30s. Isn't it smarter to maximize value a year early rather than a year late? Are they valuing nostalgia too much? No.
Did you notice how well Cam Hayward played last year?
Faneca was a free agent.
Was he? Okay.
He left in free agency.
To the Jets, right?
To the
For
Jets.
big money at the time. Yeah.
Porter was kind of a cap casualty because they looked at it and go, well, we have this James Harrison guy waiting in the wings here.
Okay.
And
was Porter still playing at a real high level?
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah,
okay.
He had 16 sacks the next year, I believe, with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
But it came down to a cap situation, and they said, the cap at that point from like 2005 to 12 or 13 really didn't go up a whole bunch. It was going up like $2 or $3 million a year.
Okay, so it was getting tight.
It was getting tight, and a couple of those years it actually went down.
Oh, wow.
With the lockout year and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they looked at it and said, okay, Mike Tomlin came in 2007, and the first thing he did, his first move was to release Joey Porter.
Mm-hmm.
That was their first big move that year, but it was a cost-cutting move. They needed to clear some cap space. They had James Harrison waiting in the wings, and they said, well, we're going to play this guy.
Who was cheap.
And good, as it turned out, and moved on from Joey Porter.
Okay. That's like Hargrave or, you don't want to necessarily
that was just
have to go, but they
straight finances. This is a different situation because they have the cap space to sign these guys.
That's the thing. They don't have a super expensive quarterback. I mean, their cap situation is very, very friendly. Omar's done a tremendous job with that. As a rule of thumb, not even put any names to it, though, I definitely think it's good business to move off a guy a year early than a year late, of course. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Belichick's really known for that. I mean, especially if you could turn him into something. Sure. But I'm pretty glad they didn't do that with Cam Hayward a year ago.
Yeah.
You know, imagine if you didn't have this past season
if you hadn't had him last year,
you might be picking 6th in the draft or something, you know.
If you didn't have their record without TJ Watt, and first of all, it looks like they're holding on to Watt deep into their 30s. He just turned 30.
Yeah, he's not
deep in his 30s.
Cam's age, right?
Yeah. You know, and nobody knows A, what Watt's asking for, and B, how long of a term of a deal that's going to be.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's probably going to be a similar percentage of the cap of what he's making now.
Yeah. So I don't have a problem with that at all.
If there was a different instance, but I don't think either one of those fit the bill of you're hanging on too long.
No.
Or nostalgia, or, right.
I mean, they moved on from Ben Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger still wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, no, we're good.
That's the end of that.
Yeah. So, they've not like they're holding on to some of these guys too long.
Mm-hmm. Certainly not in those two cases.
Derek Manton asks, love the show. What is you and Matt's best game you have ever worked?
I don't work games. I'm at home.
I've been at
preseason games I'm there, but
I figured it out during the season this year. We were in the press box somewhere. I can't remember where this year. And the press box announcer came on and said, we all want to recognize that this is so-and-so's 500th career game covering the team.
Oh, wow.
So I sat down, I'm like, I wonder how many games.
I wonder where you're at, yeah.
I wonder where I'm at. So I sat down and started figuring it out, and I was at like 700 and something.
Wow.
And I'm like,
do you ever remember missing one?
Oh, I missed the final game of the 1993 season.
Okay.
Because the Steelers had already wrapped everything up. They were going to Green Bay, and my boss said, well, you don't need to go to that one because they're not playing for anything.
I was wondering if there was like personal reasons or something.
So I didn't go to that one.
Okay.
I didn't go to. It was a game. I'm trying. Oh, the Hurricane game in New York.
Was travel like impossible?
Travel was impossible.
Okay.
Same thing. I didn't go. It was Ben.
But I bet you watched both those games and wrote something on them, so you covered them. You might not have been there.
Yeah, in a way. I didn't actually go to Ben Roethlisberger's first start in Miami. Same reason. If you remember, there was a hurricane.
Was that the ridiculous weather game?
Yeah, there was a hurricane coming into Miami, and my boss said, "No, I can't. We can't. I'm not going to tell you to fly into a hurricane.
Yeah.
And B, I don't know when would you get back? I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
So I didn't go, and I argued. I'm like, look, it's the rookie quarterback's first career start. I should probably be there. He said, no. All right.
Yeah, hurricanes make sense. I guess you've never missed a home game though, by the sound of it.
I have.
Oh, have you?
I missed one during COVID.
The COVID year was weird.
Both of my kids that were at home had COVID.
They probably told you to stay home.
And I had to stay home. My wife had to stay home from work. Neither one of we got tested regularly throughout the process. Neither one of us ever tested positive for COVID, but we had to stay away I had to stay away for a week. She had to stay because she works in the medical field. Had to stay away from work for 2 weeks.
Wow, okay.
Neither one of us ever. We had dinner with our kids. I'm like, if I'm going to be off, I might as well get this out of the way and get COVID.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Oh, okay. So you maybe missed a handful of
I can't even remember who they played that game, but I watched it on TV, and I'm like, all right.
I should be there. I feel fine, and
Yeah, didn't like it.
I'm sure. Still a pretty strong record.
4 games
in
years. 33 years.
Yeah, but I guess figuring out the math wasn't that hard to get to 700.
It was not, no.
All right.
Matt Sable asked, do you think Fields and Milroe are similar in draft outlook? Fields went 11th, was seen with higher upside or more of a sure thing than Milroe at the time. Well, yeah. Fields was a much more, I don't want to say refined passer, but it was much easier for Fields at Ohio State because he had,
right,
Wilson and
I know Milroe's from Bama, but they had a lot of defections and a new staff too. It was not the typical Bama team.
Yeah. I
think Fields was a better passer at the same
He was,
stage.
But Fields was also working with like 5 NFL wide receivers.
Oh, yeah.
And a pro-ready offensive line. Not that they weren't at Bama.
Sure.
But
Bama's got a young stud receiver too. I mean, it's not like it's a bad situation.
Yeah, the cupboard isn't bare, but I
think there's a lot of similarities.
I do think there are. I think Milroe's a better runner.
I do too, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
Fields didn't run as much at Ohio State as people think. Maybe,
No.
He was more of a pocket. He had those receivers.
Yeah, he could.
Right.
Yeah, but he was kind of a see it, throw it kind of thing. But he threw the ball well.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure I would say he was more accurate. He had to have probably a better completion percentage.
There are things that Milroe has to work on.
Oh, yeah.
His intermediate passing and his short passing are two of those. He's a great deep passer.
Great deep passer, yeah.
But he needs to work on his touch, and some of that's marrying up his footwork with his arm, which is a problem for a lot of running quarterbacks.
I had a conversation the other day about it, too. We were just talking about Milroe, and my co-host said, boy, his Senior Bowl really worried me. And I'm like, yeah, it was pretty rough. And at that point, too, you're hearing the real
rough
small
for all
hand.
of them, though.
It was rough
they
for
all
all of
look
them.
bad.
And the small hand thing came out then. By the way, his hands are bigger than Ward's.
Yeah.
Ward's only 9 exactly. He's a little bit over. But I also think at that point, he was working with Jordan Palmer in the midst of changing his mechanics, too.
Yeah.
Like step one of it. So it's not going to look great. But the mechanics need to change.
Yeah,
they started it then,
and
not when he gets to camp.
Right. You've already started that process.
Right. I'm sure he told teams that.
Nobody's asking Jalen Milroe, as Justin Fields was asked, to come in and start right away.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. I mean, he might come in and run the football for you 5 times a game or whatever.
And you're getting a much better value taking Jalen Milroe in this second or early third round or wherever he goes, as opposed to taking Justin Fields 11th.
Exactly. The cost is – that's
any
my
of the
big
other
thing,
quarterbacks
so, right.
that have gone, the running quarterbacks that have gone early in drafts, it's like –
And I believe Milroe's upside today is equal to Fields' coming out of Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, we know a lot more about Fields too, but they both have the same ceiling.
Mel asks, he has 3 questions here. Is it comfortable to say that it's not a question of if TJ will get a contract extension, but when? Yes,
I think so.
I'm very comfortable saying that.
Yeah.
What's the most glaring hole on the Steelers roster other than quarterback? I think it's easy. It's defensive tackle.
Easily. It might be the second biggest hole.
Yeah.
I think it's running back or DT2 is the next biggest hole. Yeah.
And then 3, best non-chain pizzeria around Pittsburgh.
Funny you asked. My daughter and her boyfriend have been talking about going to Beato's on Banksville Road forever, and they went yesterday and brought me home a bunch of cuts.
Is that Batos or Beatos?
Beto.
Oh.
It's been there. My parents dated there. I mean, it's a South Hills.
I think my friend worked there in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a total change up that you buy it by the cut, and they're square. They put the cheese and toppings on after it comes out of the
There's
oven.
a place like that in Washington as well, and everybody swears by it in Washington. It's good.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of legendary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, again, like my parents dated there. I mean, it's been a long time. It's been there my whole life.
I'm a big fan
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's a great change up, and I was happy to get yesterday.
I'm a big fan of Grande Italian. Have you tried that? It's like at Donaldson's Crossroads. They used to have an ancillary, a satellite one in Washington way back when. The original one, I believe, is up there, and then they had another one. They had a Grande Junior and they closed that one recently. But the original Grande's is pretty good.
I wouldn't know North Hills. I mean, I would only know South Hills.
Yeah,
real close to theirs. Harry's Pizza is a big favorite of ours. They don't deliver, and Fiore's is a big favorite.
Fiore's is big, yeah.
Yeah.
So. Let's get to a break. We'll come back. We'll finish up our questions here as we go through our Twitter questions. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. We're going to roll through these final Twitter questions here before we end the show today. So we're going to do a little rapid fire. We've already answered a lot of the Aaron Rodgers questions, so I'm going to skip over some of those.
Yeah, we handled that.
Cody asks, is there a fact where there is the fact that there are only 4 to 6 superhero quarterbacks in any given year a secret the NFL wants to keep hidden? I think in any other year,
very well.
Well, in any other year, there can't be more than 20% of the league with true franchise quarterbacks.
This is a much longer conversation we have time for, but I think like Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback. He's not a superhero.
Yeah.
But I think there's 12 to 15 franchise, maybe 10 to 12 franchise quarterbacks. I think there's 4 superheroes, and maybe Jaden Daniels is the next one.
Maybe, yeah. Terry Shipman says, I hope they don't buy what would. I hope they don't, but it should be. But what would you put the odds on for a quarterback at 21? And do you think the odds are getting better? I would put the odds at about 10 to 15%.
I would say 20% max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty low on quarterback at 21.
Right. Maybe at 28 or,
a little different.
Yeah.
Not that high.
No. And it doesn't matter with the Rodgers stuff.
Dave Merck asks, would you consider doing a Drive fantasy league with listeners?
I'll be honest. I did one on my Peacock and Williamson show for 2 years in a row, and there was no money involved, and I really lost interest in a hurry. I'm in too many, and the season gets too busy.
The problem is the season's really busy.
I forgot to put lineups in, and then I was just like, I give up. I'm done.
Weber88 says, was reading the chat with Jerry Dulac had yesterday in the PG. He had some differing opinions on draft strategies for the Steelers than you do. Do you read other writers' Steeler draft chats? I do not.
I don't, but that's funny you brought that up because for our draft coverage, and the owners' meeting fit this bill a little bit too, I am very excited to talk to non-Lolley analysts about their thoughts on the draft. You know, Jerry and Max and all those dudes too that are really good at what they do. They might have some insight. I know they'll have some insight, but they'll also have just a different viewpoint, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we talk to each other every day.
Right.
Here's a random one from Michael Adesso. Here's a random one. Any late-round fullbacks or H-backs picked your interest? Would love to have an actual fullback that can block, maybe catch a ball or two, play special teams like Derek Watt. Would love to replace Connor Hayward at some point.
Do you think they ever had interest in Juszczyk when that was rumored?
Yeah, they brought him in.
Yeah, they did bring him in.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't positive if that actually happened.
You don't have to draft those guys.
No, I don't know if you have to draft them, right?
Yeah.
Would you consider like Lumpkin, the 270-pound center? The thing is, he ran like
he moves. Yeah,
he ran like a 5'3".
Yeah, he's not fast enough to do that. If I'm going to take Jackson Haas and do that with him, maybe.
I mean, they had a fullback in camp last year. They didn't keep him, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm
but you've got to play great special teams.
Oh, that's his job number one.
Chris Maxwell says, greatest Steelers show. Well, thank you. Tomlin calling the defense is something he and Rooney denied, yet some reports say that he called the defensive plays. Well, if that's not true.
I don't think he called plays.
Can we finally get to the truth of the story, please? The head coach has veto power.
I'm sure he hears it in his ear.
He hears it in his ear, and he said, no, we don't want to do that here.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't call every defensive play.
I'm sure it goes something like, man, this might be a good down to heat him up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
let's heat him up here, or let's do this. But he doesn't sit there and look at the play sheet like Andy Reid calling the offensive plays.
Right.
That doesn't happen.
No, exactly. Which is good because that's time-consuming and it's hard.
Joe McCrusick says, what do you think that that's a Rodgers question. Andrew asks, if Genty falls to the 15-17 range, would you move up to take him? Might only cost a fourth-rounder, similar to what the Steelers gave up for Broderick Jones a few years ago.
It's appealing, and it would make you really good.
I don't see him falling that far.
I don't either. I can't imagine him getting past the Bears.
Yeah.
It's probably a moot point. And I think the answer is no.
Yeah. Rich Pronsetti has two questions. Matt, is there any preseason maintenance required in order to get the Williamson dog roller up and running?
Oh, the hot dog roller. No maintenance at all. It sits in the garage with a blanket over it to keep the
dust
muck off it. Just a quick wipe down, plug it in. Dogs are rocking in 5 or 10 minutes.
So you're serving dirty dogs.
No, I think it's a little clean. It doesn't need like Clorox or wipe down heavy. Right.
And his question for me is, who has been more exposed over the years, your listeners or your family, to the exhausted, exasperated Lolley sigh? There it is. Probably the listeners.
The listeners.
Yeah, probably the listeners.
No doubt.
I don't do that too much to my family. My wife would punch me in the face.
Yeah, I might punch you in the face.
That looks like all the Twitter questions for today.
We got to be close to the end here, right?
Yeah, I don't see any other ones on there. We appreciate all of those for sure. And, we'll be back again tomorrow.
Draft week. No, wait, this isn't Friday. I was thinking we were gone for the weekend.
No, we're back on. Well, technically it is kind of draft week because now we're 7 days out, so we're going to be within 7 days of the draft.
Okay. Good stuff.
Absolutely. A lot of fun. For my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site running the Justin Miller hotline and the soundboard.
Yeah.
And for Tyler Vittmeyer making sure our video gets out there onto YouTube. Give us a thumbs up there. I'm Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.